Well, good evening, folks. This is Senator Beau McCoy, candidate for governor here in Nebraska. First and foremost, tonight, let me start off by saying that my thoughts and prayers are with all the families who were affected by last night's severe weather across central and eastern Nebraska. And we're very thankful there was no loss of life or serious injuries. There were, however, a number of homes and businesses with structural damage. I also want to thank our first responders, the Weather Service, and members of the media for doing a really nice job at keeping us informed and safe last night. Now, as all of you know, in about 25 hours, the polls will be closing across Nebraska, and that means pretty soon the TV ads, phone calls, and mailers will stop. And I'm sure you're all pretty upset about that. But as I've traveled nearly 50,000 miles across our state, the people I've met have all realized how important this governor's race is for the future of our great state. And again, this is State Senator Beau McCoy, Republican candidate for governor. For those of you just joining us tonight, we thank you for being on the call. Again, we're doing a call tonight and a discussion. I look forward to taking your questions here in just a couple of minutes. And again, as I've traveled nearly 50,000 miles in my pickup across our great state, the people I've met have all realized how important this governor's race is for the future of our land and of our state. And I think Nebraskans are hungry for real, straightforward leadership, not spin and poll-tested talking points. If you'd like to join the conversation tonight, I'd love to take your questions and hear your comments. You can press 0 at any time to ask a question and get in the line. We'll start taking those here in just a couple of minutes. Again, press 0 if you'd like to join us tonight and ask us a question. I think people are excited about my candidacy for governor and our Grow Nebraska plan, which gives you the ability to hold me accountable if I don't get the job done as governor. If you're already supportive of our campaign, I'm very grateful for that. All of us are. Shauna and our 4 kids and I, and we really need your help. Please talk to your family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors, and urge them to vote for me tomorrow. Again, primary election day is tomorrow, Tuesday the 13th, and it really will make a huge difference in an election as close as this one. If you're planning on voting for another candidate, or if you're undecided at this point, I hope you'll stay on the line tonight and hear what I have to say and maybe ask me a question if you like. Again, this is State Senator Beau McCoy, Republican candidate for governor. And if you'd like to ask me a question tonight, press 0, and we'll get you in the line to ask a question. In a few minutes, I'm going to stop talking. Trust me, I've been doing my fair share of that the past few months and the 8 months that we've been on the campaign trail, going back to last September. And you'll have the ability to enter the question line and ask me the question queue and ask me about my campaign and my position, maybe on an issue that's particularly important to you or one that maybe you haven't heard me talk about on the campaign trail that's most important to you, and I'll be happy to answer that. Again, please press 0 in order to enter the question queue, and we'll get to your questions here in a few minutes. Overall, there's no question, I believe, that our state is in a very, very strong position. Nebraska is fortunate in that we're tied for the 3rd lowest unemployment rate in the nation, abundant natural resources, and unique natural beauty. And while we have all those things, I believe we would be making a huge mistake if we rest on our laurels and assume that Nebraska will remain strong just because we want it to be. It's important to remember that Nebraska is competing every single day in a global economy, both in agriculture and our manufacturing industries and in small business across our great state. And of course, we're one of 50 states, but we're also competing for jobs with markets in China, India, Canada, Korea, Europe, and all over the world. And I certainly believe we need a governor who knows Nebraska and who's prepared to roll up his sleeves and work harder than anyone to grow our state, bring new jobs, and expand economic opportunity for our workers and families. And again, if you just joined us tonight, this is State Senator Beau McCoy, Republican candidate for governor. If you'd like to ask me a question, we'll get to that in just a minute. Press 0, and we'll start taking questions tonight. We're going to first go to for our first question tonight. We're going to go to Omaha. Philip, I believe you have a question for me tonight. Go ahead, Philip.
Yes, I'd like to know, you say you're going to be able to lower taxes. I'd like to know how you're going to do it.
Well, I don't just talk about lowering taxes, Philip. I've done it. With 6 years in the legislature, the income tax cuts that went into effect January 1st of this year of 2014, that was my priority bill 2 years ago, and that just went into effect, and that is over $55 million of income tax relief that every Nebraskan's enjoying today. Lowering taxes is a big deal to me. I work very, very hard on that. I have my 6 years in the legislature, Philip, and I believe that's the biggest issue we face going forward in Nebraska is how do we lower taxes, especially property taxes. But it's not just property taxes. I think we all know we pay really, really high property taxes in Nebraska, but it's also income taxes. We've got to do more. There's an awful lot of Nebraska families and businesses that are paying the highest rate of income taxes in our state. We need to do a better job of lowering taxes on Social Security income. We worked on that this session of the legislature for the first time, and also for those that have a military pension. We're working hard on that as well, and I'm going to continue as the next governor of our state to work on that even more, because when we lower taxes, we're able to keep more young Nebraskans in our state to raise their families here, and we're able to provide better opportunities for retirees to stay here in their retirement years, and for those that have worn a uniform and protected us, and we're very proud of them, and the best way to honor our military members is to give them a tax break as well. So I've worked very hard on that, Philip, and I made a commitment. I mentioned that earlier, the Grow Nebraska plan, that I said that if I didn't cut property taxes by $100 million in my first term as governor, and I didn't add 10,000 jobs to our workforce in Nebraska, especially in the skilled trades that are so vital to growth in our state, and if I didn't travel around the world at least 100,000 miles to promote Nebraska manufacturing and agriculture products, I wouldn't run for re-election. Lowering taxes is a big deal to me, and I'm willing to make a pledge to the people of Nebraska in order to follow through on that.
Well, that's all well and good, Bo, but I'm telling you, if you pull $55 million out of this economy, what are you going to replace it with?
Well, it's certainly a start, Philip, because I believe in small government, and I believe you starve the beast that is state government and cut taxes for Nebraskans when you bring less dollars into state government and you keep it in the pockets of all of us as taxpayers and business owners, and those are out there working very hard for the dollars that we earn. You keep more of those dollars in our pockets, and we'll go about reinvesting it in our economy, which means we have more revenue coming into the state. I believe in our free enterprise system. I believe that Nebraskans know how to, our hardworking taxpayers know how to spend our dollars better than state government does, and it's our money in the first place. And that's just my feelings as a conservative. That's what I believe in, and I believe that cutting taxes first is how we grow our economy best. We're going to go to the next question. We're going to go to George, also in Omaha. George, I think you have a question for me tonight. Thanks for being on the line, and go ahead.
Well, thank you. It's rather rewarding to have somebody in the business world actually run for governor rather than a professional politician, which is quite rewarding in itself. My question is, how will you handle the Medicaid situation with this Obama plan in progress?
Well, that's a great question, George. I think Obamacare's Medicaid expansion is really a bad idea for Nebraska. You know, I'm not in favor, George, of a one-size-fits-all approach to anything. I found growing up in agriculture and our family's cattle ranch, and today in small business, and my family and I own and operate a home improvement business and a construction company. And a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work in our state. It doesn't work in business. It didn't work in agriculture when I was growing up, and I don't think it works for health care in Nebraska either. You know, anytime Washington, D.C. wants to say, hey, you have to do this one way or not at all, I say not at all. And I think we can find a better Nebraska solution for these adults in Nebraska that aren't currently covered by health insurance. I think we can find a better way to do it. I think we have a lot of insurance companies in Nebraska that would be willing to think outside the box, and I believe we can put our heads together and find a solution that doesn't involve a budget problem for Nebraska down the road. I just don't trust the federal government, George, to honor their commitment to cover the cost of this. And guess what? They're covering the cost of Medicaid expansion with our tax dollars, with federal funding. And I believe that we can find a Nebraska solution and draw a line in the sand, and I intend to do that as the next governor of our state and say no more, Mr. President, we're going to do things our way in Nebraska, and we don't want you to tell us in Washington how to do it. Please press 0 if you'd like to join the call tonight by asking me a question. We'll take as many of those tonight as we can. This is State Senator Bo McCoy, Republican candidate for governor, and you're joining us on a live discussion tonight, one night before the primary election tomorrow, Tuesday, May 13th. We're going to go next to Terry, also in Omaha, and I think you have a question for me, Terry, on the Keystone XL pipeline. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask that question, but since you've been talking about the global economy, I have a different question. May I ask a different question?
You bet. Fire away.
I'm a professional economist. I believe strongly in the economic rule of comparative advantage, especially in the global marketplace. What do you see as America's comparative advantage in the global economy, and how best do we enhance that advantage?
Well, if it's fine, Terry, I'll be happy to answer that, but I want to answer first. I think you're going to ask me maybe what I thought. I'm assuming what I thought about the Keystone XL pipeline, and I'm very much in favor of it. I think it's good for Nebraska's economy. I think it's good for the U.S. economy and helps reduce our dependence on foreign oil. And I'm very excited about the potential in the next decade with the reports and the information I read that we can become energy independent with our neighbor to the north, Canada, and not have to be continuing to buy petroleum products from countries overseas that really don't like us in America. So that's my position on the Keystone Pipeline. As far as your question, Terry, and again, this is State Senator Bo McCoy, Republican candidate for governor. Terry's asked me about our comparative advantage with the American economy. And here's my position on it. I'm very proud of our free enterprise system in America. I'm proud of the fact that we have so many hardworking folks, not just in Nebraska, but in our entire country, who contribute greatly to the economy and the country that we love. And I mentioned earlier the free enterprise system and capitalism that I believe very strongly in. I've been involved in small business and agriculture and today in construction almost all my life. And I believe that you have an enormous number of Nebraskans with great work ethics. They're second to none. That's what makes our state so amazing. And we contribute to the economic engine here in Nebraska, and in turn we contribute to our U.S. economy. And I think it's just within the last couple of weeks that China's economy is growing, I think, at a greater rate than our U.S. economy, and maybe have overtaken us as far as the largest economy in the world. But I believe in the American people, and I believe in Nebraskans first and foremost. And I intend to work very much, Terry, as the next governor of our great state, to grow our economy to its absolute maximum potential so that we're contributing to our national economy in a way that helps us to grow jobs, to increase the quality of life, to protect the quality of life that we love in Nebraska. And I intend to work on that each and every day as governor. Again, this is State Senator
May
Bo
comment?
McCoy. You certainly can, Terry. We're going to go in just a moment to the next question, but sure, go ahead with a follow-up, Terry.
The United States' comparative advantage is the fact that we have a large fertile land mass and abundant supply of fresh water. We should be marketing food to the world the way the Arabs are marketing oil.
Well, I think we do that, Terry. I like to say, and others say, that we are the global epicenter for agriculture in the world, and I'm very thankful for that. In Nebraska, we're number one cattle on feed. We're near the top in so many other rankings, whether it's in manufacturing or agriculture. And I mentioned earlier the work ethic of our people in Nebraska and our quality of life that I'm biased to say I think is the greatest of anywhere in the country and in the world. And so I think that the way that we utilize our natural resources, our abundant water, that we're doing even a better job protecting and conserving, and that we're feeding the world with crops and drought-resistant crops as our world population grows. Nebraska and Nebraska agriculture and manufacturing and our whole economy is able to contribute to that, which is good for Nebraska and is good for the world. And I think that that's a very important issue. Once again, this is State Senator Bo McCoy, Republican candidate for governor, and you're joining us live tonight for a discussion on the issues less than 24 hours before the primary election tomorrow. And I really would encourage everybody to get out there and vote. Would sure appreciate your support. Press 0 if you'd like to get in the line to ask me a question tonight, and we'll get to as many of those as we possibly can. We're going to go to the next question. Richard, you're in Lincoln tonight. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the time. We need some good leadership, and I'm wondering if you could comment on really a recent divide in the UNICAM where it seemed, even though we have a UNICAM, there's some division there. And I'd be interested to see some unification. And how can you bring us to be united in your part as a governor, as a part of a teamwork, to make some of the right decisions in some of these new laws and tax cuts as you're talking to, and maybe give us an example?
Well, that's a great question, Richard, and I'm happy to give you an example of that. I'm really proud of our UNICAM role. It's obviously unique. It's a one of a kind that we would have officially a nonpartisan legislature. Now, obviously, all 49 members of the legislature, and I'm proud to have been a part of the legislature the last 6 years. All of us, while we got elected with just our names on a ballot, and that's how we campaigned, it's one of those things that we all belong to a political party, and I'm a strong conservative, but I can find a way to work with all parties in the legislature. I've done that, and I think it's because you build relationships and you find commonalities and you agree that what we're looking out for is the best interest of Nebraska as a state. And again, I'd like to remind folks to press 0. If you'd like to ask me a question, we'll get to as many of those as we can. An example, I think, Richard, of that, when we talk about how do we grow jobs, how do we build infrastructure and roads, I've been a part of a lot of important decisions that we've made. I'll give you one example. We put some reforms to our Commission on Industrial Relations and how we would interact with employee unions, public employee unions, and units of government across the state a few years ago. And I was part of a coalition of Republicans and Democrats in the legislature, those that had union interest and those that had business interest. And as a small business owner, I had the ability to really work with others on that issue, and I'm very proud of that. We're going to take one more question, then we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Again, I want to thank all of those that have been on the call tonight, all of those of you out there across Nebraska that have been supporting our campaign, and I want to thank you for that. And we're going to go to, let's see here, we're going to go to Jay in Omaha for our last question of the evening. Jay, go ahead with your question here tonight.
Yeah, my question deals with illegal immigration. I see a lot of candidates say, oh, we're against illegal immigration. but then they support secretly a pathway to citizenship. And then I find out that a lot of the candidates, not all of them, but who've been getting money have been, Republican-wise, have been supporting a backdoor deal later for amnesty. And I don't believe in amnesty in any form, whether it's a pathway to citizenship or not. To me, you're here illegally, you get deported, period. And I'm just wondering where you stand on that, sir.
Well, Jay, I couldn't agree with you any more. I've spent the last 6 years in the legislature doing everything I could to crack down on illegal immigration in Nebraska. And to me, I always equate it to that's the definition. It's illegal. I think that we want to make sure that taxpayer benefits are only going to those in Nebraska who deserve them, not illegal aliens who are here. And I think that's a very important distinction that as Nebraskans we need to make. I've spent a lot of time in the legislature working on that. My ancestors came to this country legally, and they came here with the clothes on their backs like so many of our ancestors did, and they carved out a better life for themselves. And they were very proud of that, and I'm very proud of them. And I think that we want to make sure that we're making it easier for legal immigration to take place. It shouldn't be as hard to come to our country as what it is, but we need to make sure that we are only employing those in Nebraska who are here legally, and we're not giving taxpayer benefits to those who are here illegally. I think this has been an important issue in this campaign. We certainly all don't agree as candidates. I've been one that has a strong track record of cracking down on illegal immigration. I don't believe in amnesty, and I believe amnesty is and is defined as a pathway to citizenship. And in particular, there are candidates who believe in a pathway to citizenship and say, well, that's not really amnesty. Yes, it is in my mind, and we need to be very strong on this. I intend to be a governor who is the number one promoter and defender of Nebraska and of the rule of law. In enforcing the rule of law as much as we can as a state. Defending and securing our borders is a federal government issue, but I will be a governor who is very tough on this and encourages the President of the United States and Congress to do their job to secure our borders, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that we're not providing taxpayer benefits to any illegal immigrants here in Nebraska. I want to finish up with a few remarks, and then I also want to make sure to let you know that if you didn't get a question, we weren't able to get to your question tonight, you can leave a message for us at the end of the call, and we will certainly follow up with you. And I want to thank you all again for joining us tonight, especially on a night before the primary election tomorrow. That means a lot to us that you took time out of your evening to join us tonight. I'll finish with a few remarks tonight. I mentioned earlier, and I believe very strongly in this, that as a candidate for governor and as a member of the legislature the last 6 years, I've really seen how important it is to have a strong governor to defend and promote Nebraska. And I made a commitment to the people of Nebraska, and I mentioned this earlier, that I intend to, in my first term as governor, to grow Nebraska jobs by 10,000, especially in the skilled trades that are such great jobs that you can raise a family and have a great career at here in Nebraska. And I made a commitment to reduce property taxes by at least $100 million in my first term as governor, and to travel at least 100,000 miles to open new marketplaces for Nebraska agriculture producers and manufacturers. And if I didn't achieve, and if I don't achieve those three goals, I won't seek another term as governor, period. I think Nebraskans know that being governor in our great state is about getting results, and Nebraskans deserve a governor who will look them in the eye and provide straight answers to tough questions that we face every day. And I think part of the reason many Nebraskans are fed up with politicians, particularly Washington politicians, is that straight answers are becoming an endangered species. And I'm going to provide real leadership as governor, just as I have as a state senator and as a member of the legislature, and provide that conservative real leadership that will start with honesty, conviction, and hard work. You know, I'm running for governor because I know this state, and I want to do my part to help our families and our small businesses and agriculture across our state. I'm not running for some fancy title. I'm not running to pad my political resume. I'm running because far too many families are struggling. You know, our families, just like a lot of you across Nebraska, I know what it's like to walk into the grocery store and see the rising cost of milk. Grocery dollars just don't seem to go as far. We have 4 young kids at our house, and I know what it's like to fill up the family vehicle with gas and see it cost more and more each week. We live on a budget just like so many Nebraska families do. And I know what it's like as a father of 4 great kids that Sean and I love very much, to worry about the rising cost of college. You know, I'm just a regular guy who wants to do my part to make Nebraska better. I'm going to work harder than anyone else to make that happen. That's why I've been nearly 50,000 miles across our great state of Nebraska in the last 8 months that I've been campaigning for governor, to meet as many of you as I can, to look in the eye, to shake your hand, and to ask for your vote and your support. And I'm going to work just that hard as the next governor of our state to grow our state, to grow jobs, and to cut taxes, and to preserve the quality of life. You know, if you believe in my Grow Nebraska plan and plan to vote for me, and we sure hope that you do, and I would ask for your vote tomorrow, please also encourage everyone you know to get out there and support us tomorrow. I can't stress enough how important that is in this close of an election. And thanks again tonight for joining us. Once again, this is Bo McCoy, State Senator and Republican candidate for governor. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, taking time out of your busy evening on the night before the primary election tomorrow. Again, please get out there and vote tomorrow. Tell everybody you know about us. And again, I'd ask for your vote, and thank you in advance for voting for us tomorrow. Have a great evening.